You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. I am currently in the midst of, as we all are, but the early throes of free agency. Twitter's down, the whole 9 yards. So far, nothing super interesting has happened. The Bears did get that Dolman center guy. Otherwise, not a single interesting person. Not that there's hardly any interesting people anyways, but yeah, there's nothing that's happened that I thought, oh man, that would have been cool. It's just a bunch of, oh good lord, that's a stupid person.
Good morning, or I should say good afternoon from snowy Copper Harbor, Michigan. This is Chris. I'm just reading that possibly Will Johnson and or Mason Graham might be falling down the boards a little bit. I'll tell you this, I'm a Michigan fan, but I'm going to try not to be biased here, but Mason Graham is the best player in this draft, and Will Johnson is head and shoulders the best corner in this draft. And if anybody wants to try to, tell me I'm wrong, watch the Ohio State tape. Mason Graham just blew up last 3 years, dominated in that game. Will Johnson shut down, what's his name? The guy that got the receiver that got picked in Arizona, Harrison. And Will Johnson's a stud, fluid, looks like a young Charles Woodson. And Mason Graham is just a piece. So I hope if they do fall, they're able to trade up. I'm not one for trading up. I always want to get more picks and trade back, but especially Mason Graham. The guy's just dominant. So thank you. Bye.
Well, I know a couple things. Number one, you just pissed off a bunch of Ohio State people. That's for sure. They tend to be a pretty large, and they don't like all that. Number two, although it's obviously possible that there's a scenario where they're as good as you say, and they fall, and we trade up and get them, I would say it's pretty unlikely. If they do fall, they're probably, it's probably for a reason. Let's just say that. And then if they are as good as you say, the best corner and the best overall player in the draft, I would assume a team within the top 10 would recognize that and they would be long gone. So, I have noticed and seen a couple things as far as falling, but it's not a drastic fall. I don't think I've really seen, especially Mason Graham, out of the top 10. Maybe Johnson a little bit. I haven't really gone in and looked in the last week or so there might have been something a little bit more drastic. Maybe the combine is, because I know there's a little bit of a delay. There was the combine, and then I kind of looked into it, and I kind of haven't been back. So I was planning on doing that in the podcast as far as just getting in and look at some stuff, as you might have remembered. But one of the podcasts ran long, and then for today's podcast, I needed to get the fantasy stuff out there. Jimmy Garoppolo re-signing with the Rams. Okay. Nobody cares. Yeah, I mean, I'm all in. I haven't really looked a ton into them just because they're those guys that are assumed to be long gone. I probably shouldn't do that. But obviously, I would be fine if that happened, but I would also be very skeptical as to why in the world did they fall so far. But it looks like Mason Graham has seen a slight decline due to some of the measurements. 296, I guess, is 25 pounds lighter than his playing weight, so there might have been some concern about, man, if he can move like that at that weight, and then he comes in at 296, and it's not as impressive. I don't really know. I guess Lance Zierlein, so shows me right, Lance Zierlein just did a mock draft where Graham was picked by the 49ers at 11. Will Johnson has been more for injury concerns. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I will, when we go through these mock things, I try to just kind of keep an eye on certain themes. Like I've been trying to see if Tetaroa is going to fall, and he kind of does fall at times, but it's never really very far. So Schefter says Justin Fields will not sign in Pittsburgh unless they commit to him being QB1. I see.
Hey, Back Daddy, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Hey.
I just finished listening to Packernet podcast, and he basically just broke down all of the positives and negatives for possibly acquiring Trey Hendrickson, and I found a couple of things interesting that I think makes for a very, very compelling argument to go after him versus Khalil Mack. So one of the things he brought up was the pressure rates. He had more pressures, Trey Hendrickson did, than Kenny Clark and Gary combined last season. And the amount of sacks he had led the league, and his PFF scores have only gone up every single year. And I just found that very interesting. He's younger than Khalil Mack. Maybe not the top elite in some people's eyes, but those numbers don't lie. And I would think that because of the type of skills he does have, they don't really diminish with age like some of the athletic skills do. So I have to agree that, you know, it seems like he's a better fit. I would hope that we wouldn't have to give up very much to get him. But, I mean, there are talks of a high pick to acquire him also. But it seems like we could sign him for a longer deal than we could perhaps for Mac. So I was just wondering what you thought about it. He also mentioned that, you know, versus LVN, you know, his first couple of years, his PFF scores were in the 60s. And LVN had a better PFF score the first year for him versus Trey. But ever since then, Trey has gone up. And maybe, you know, it's just going to take a couple of extra moves for, you know, LVN to acquire to take that next leap and become the next Trey Hendrickson. So I'm pretty much sold on Trey Hendrickson now after listening to that argument. So just curious what you think. I'm out.
Well, all due respect to Packernet, I know they do a good job over there. We could have cut out the middleman because if you had listened to, I also have a podcast, Garrett. It's called Packernet Podcast, where I talk about things about the Green Bay Packers sometimes, and pretty much word for word, I said all that about Trey Hendrickson. So I'm in agreement. I'm all in on Trey Hendrickson. The sacks, the getting better every year thing. Did not mention the Lucas Van Ness thing, but everything related to Trey Hendrickson, yes. He's a very good football player, and I would be over the moon if we ended up getting him. I don't think we're going to. I kind of get the same vibes from that situation as a lot of these other ones where it's the intention is to re-sign, and I know the Bengals are in a little bit of a tough spot, but they have made it clear that their intention is to keep everybody. They did give him an opportunity to go out and look for things, and we'll see what materializes with that, but we shall see. I would be very excited about that, yes.
Okay, so Ryan, I'm curious what you think will be the next domino to fall now that Geno Smith has been traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. So does this mean that Seattle is in position to move up, possibly making a trade with someone like Tennessee Titans, and switch first-round picks, and also send DK Metcalf to the Titans so that they can move up and take their quarterback? I'm just kind of wondering, there's no quarterback out there that they can sign except Aaron Rodgers. So curious what you think might happen with that and the scenario to play out in the draft.
Well, that was kind of my concern with the whole situation is what is the plan here? There's no good quarterbacks, and you're not in a position to draft one. And they're currently sitting at 18, so getting up to Tennessee would be tough. Now, like you said, they could have used DK as leverage, but apparently that didn't cross their mind. They just shipped him off to Seattle, to the Steelers. So that doesn't help them. Let me see what they have as far as picks here. They do have 2 second-round picks, so if they wanted to, the one they got from Pittsburgh, so they could possibly package those two. I'm not going to look into necessarily where that gets them. I don't know. I don't know what it takes to get from 18 to 1 is a lot. I don't think that they're in a position to do it, and Aaron Rodgers is an option. Nothing makes sense to me for the Aaron Rodgers situation. He's probably going to end up somewhere, and it's not going to make sense to me. It sounded like the Giants were a thing, but then it seemed like maybe that was just more speculation from the Giants standpoint, and then it came out like, why would he want to go to the Giants? And I was like, yeah, exactly. Now there's buzz about the Steelers being a thing, which again, I said it kind of makes sense because I think Rodgers and Tomlin respect each other a lot. Now that DK's there, it makes even more sense. I just think it's a weird environment to have these sort of two strong personalities. Tomlin may admire Rodgers, but do you want to coach him is a completely different question. But that may happen. I don't know how people feel about stuff. And, Tomlin's probably looking at, not that he's necessarily, I don't know his role as far as acquiring players and how much pull he has over the GM or owner or whatever, but he's got to know that his time is probably winding down. He's been there forever, and teams like that, when you get to the point where, even the teams like that, when you get to the playoffs and don't win, people start calling for your job. Now they're to the point where, it's a question of if they're even going to get back to the playoffs. If you're a GM or a coach in that environment, you start to really, you want to make some kind of a splash. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like a great decision to me. But what do I know? But yeah, I don't know what the plan is. At this point, the best plan in my mind is to continue shipping everybody away, which I think everybody's basically gone now. Sorry to Jackson Smith and Jigba for that situation. But just continue shipping everybody away, bring in some stupid garbage players, tank as hard as you can, and see if you can get some players by next year. I don't know of a better plan than that, to be honest.
All right, Ryan, I have a scenario for you to work out when it comes to the draft and what quarterbacks you think will go in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And what teams that need a quarterback, who do you think they will eventually sign in free agency? Because right now, Aaron Rodgers is available, Sam Darnold is available, Kirk Cousins is available, Fields we think will go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's available, and then Russell Wilson is available. And then the teams that need a quarterback, but I'll let you kind of pick who you think needs one, and who could sign one of those free agents or pick in the first round a quarterback. I'm out.
Oh, boy, I don't know. It's all over the place. I know there were, what the heck was it? Darnold? Was it Seattle that was like a thing for Darnold? But I don't know if that recently changed. Let's just say Darnold goes to Seattle. Fields now, I guess there's an offer for the Jets, and so there's a big question in that regard. So I'll just ship him off there. I don't really know. The problem I have with this is I just don't care about any of these quarterbacks. Aside from Rodgers, they're so bad. There's nothing good. This whole free agent period is so trash. Like, who cares? Who cares where Sam Darnold goes? The only question is he going to be back with Minnesota? Which seemed like it was a slam dunk. Everyone's talking about, he's definitely coming back, and now he's not coming back, but he might come back because nothing's official yet. I think the only real wild card for me right now is Jackson Dart. Could that really be an option? I've seen him slide into the first round. In fact, I saw him kind of recently very early, like top 15-ish somewhere. And when you start seeing that, and he had a good, he's looked good in front of coaches and whatnot, you start to wonder about teams like Seattle at 18. Could they pull the trigger on Jackson Dart or any one of the many teams that is kind of desperate for a quarterback? Could the Jets do it at 7? Or, the Saints at 9, or the Colts at 14, the Falcons at 15, Seattle at 18. There's a lot of teams here that could absolutely pull the trigger on Jackson Dart. You almost get to the point where you think it feels impossible that they wouldn't. Even if he's an early second round kind of a prospect, if you think he can be a starting quarterback and you just have no prospects whatsoever of having a quarterback, why not? But, yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, not a lot has happened. I'm guessing by the time you listen to this, we'll have a bunch of questions on those quarterbacks already. So, yeah, I don't really know. I'm curious where Rodgers goes. Outside of that, all right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got some beer, cheese, Benny. Hello. Beer, cheese, Benny, are you there? This is a lot of silence. I can't even hear like the background hissing noise. All right, let's try part 2 here.
Hey Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny again.
Okay.
Listening to Packernet After Dark, and I like how you said, shame on anyone who really believes in the Bears, because it's true. And I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm like everyone's like, oh man, they hired Ben Johnson. What a great hire. Well, but I like what my boy Ben said. My boy Ben from Saukville. Hope you're listening, buddy. It was a bad move because the Bears did it. No. And that's all you need to know.
Well, it's funny, too, because, I get it because I'm even being pulled into it, but they signed Dahlman, the center, and he's a good run blocker, and that was their entire intention. We're going to build up the interior. We're going to focus on running the ball, so they probably are going to draft Ashton Genti if he becomes available. It all is falling right into place, right? Everything makes perfect sense here for the Chicago Bears, but you're also looking at it and you're going, we're saying the same crap we said last year when they had 3 top wide receivers. And now they have 3 new interior offensive linemen. What am I supposed to do? Do a backflip for them? And again, by the way, your focus is on running the ball, not protecting the quarterback? I thought that was the problem because Dahlman is a good run blocker. He's not a good pass blocker. Your new right guard kind of sucks, but your left guard is, maybe I got him backwards, but is a lesser Tevin Jenkins. I mean, I'm okay. Yeah, no, I'm super excited this year. Like, this is the time. Not 2 years ago when they won free agency, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. Not last year. Those didn't count. But this one, interior offensive linemen, that's what they've been missing this whole time. And it's like, well, it's always been offensive line. They needed a new offensive line, and now they got it. No. First of all, it's not true that we know that it's offensive line. We know that the quarterbacks have contributed largely to this problem. We assume that part of that problem must be the offensive line, but the other thing you're missing is they have addressed offensive line numerous times, over and over and over. I don't know the last time they've had 5 offensive linemen stay together for an entire year, much less multiple years. They've been swinging at this thing forever. They've also been swinging at free agents and mostly have been missing on them. So again, explain to me why the fact that they signed 3 interior offensive linemen should guarantee me anything about the success of the Chicago Bears. And notice I didn't say that I know that they're going to be bad. I'm just saying that I have no information that is pointing me in the direction of this is going to make them good. And that if history teaches us absolutely anything, we should at least believe there's more than a 50% chance that this is not going to make them some miraculous playoff contender. If it happens, it's the outlier.
Yo, Ryan, it's your uncle, Rico.
Yo.
Just wanted to let you know I love hot honey. Hot honey is... I'm feeling hot honey.
Oh, that was it? I'm sorry. I thought we were just getting started there. Appreciate it. I'll have to go grab some and try it on some stuff. I just don't know what to put it on. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Ryan, this is Nico. Just driving in the afternoon here on Sunday with my son's little puppy, his pug. He went to visit his brother to watch some big MMA fight in California yesterday.
Nice.
But I don't think it's Jersey Mike's Bluetooth that was messing up the signal. I think he was just driving so fast that the cell signal couldn't keep up with his car. He was probably running from some police or something like that. So, Jersey Mike, just be safe, bro. Don't drive too fast where we can't understand you. Peace out. Go back, go.
That's probably what it was. He was driving faster than the speed of sound. I think that's science, right?
What's going on? So, my firefighter, how y'all doing? I already know how most people doing. Probably pissed off, like me. So I don't want to come over here and argue or be all negative, but man, I really wanted DK and to give up a second round. I know the Steelers just picked 2 spots ahead of us, so I get that. But I'm like, we could have easily gave up our second round pick and Dobbs. That would have easily put us over 2 spots. I mean, Dobbs is worth 2 spots above the draft. So I don't understand why I'm sitting here like why we didn't do that. Even if she probably could have just threw in a worse receiver and still kept Dobbs for 2 spots. I'm just like pissed. So then I'm like, okay, all right, we missed out on him. I'm not gonna lie, I'm hurt, but maybe we get Devontae. Then Devontae go to the Rams. Now I would agree they overpaid for Devontae. So I'm not as mad. It was just the fact that I was hoping we at least can get Adams, like, to try to make up for it. So now we can't get DK, we can't get Adams, and I'm trying to figure out what free agent wide receivers are that can be at number 1. I mean, anybody that we can get. I don't know anybody we can get. I almost wish that we got crazy dude from San Fran for a late pick, because it's kind of like we don't have anything. I guess, you know what? I take that back. So being early, the only person I could think of that maybe we can get on a deal would be Dahami Brown. He didn't really pan out in Washington, but he did good in the playoffs. Like, he stopped picking up speed. He never really had a quarterback, so I'm sure that didn't help. But when he got a quarterback, he started playing a little bit better. That's the only person I could see us getting where we don't have to break the bank and maybe could turn in. But at the same time, I don't see him being like a number 1 wide receiver. That's kind of like a number 2 type what we had. But at least he got some speed. But other than that, everybody else is old. I mean, Chris Godwin injured, old. Amari Cooper old. Like, everybody else is super old. And I don't see nobody's putting us over the hump. Like, we gonna have to really win on defense and running the football or something. Unless we can, draft somebody. Maybe we can move up a couple spots in the draft and get like one of these premier wide receivers. But it's only like two of them supposedly in the draft. It's like that, that's number 1 caliber. Everybody else is like a big question mark. But anyway, just looking forward to the draft now. We'll see what happens. All right, go Packer.
Yeah, the DK thing, well, first of all, and who knows what's real and what's not, right? We heard the Packers are all in on it, and there's calls, and there's this, and there's that, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then the DK thing happens, and then another report comes out, the Packers never even called. They were never interested in him. I think there is a chance, somebody had called in talking about the personality thing, and that's why we shouldn't get him. I think there is a chance that they saw DK in that way as a little bit too volatile and not the right kind of person to bring into our locker room. I've already expressed why I thought it made sense from a schematic standpoint to have him. And then the other thing that, you didn't directly say but kind of alluded to as far as why we should get him is it's him or nobody. It really is. I mean, it's just not much out there. And so you look at all these guys that I had said that I wanted, and it's a very small list. And by wanted, I mean like to some degree would have been interested in to any degree. And, 70% of them just get signed back with their team. And I'm sitting here going, all right, well, be cool if we get DJ Reed, man. And, if the Trey Hendrickson thing happens, I mean, that would be a perfect free agency for me is DJ Reed and Trey Hendrickson. But I don't know if Trey Hendrickson's even really available. So Reed is kind of it, I guess, even I'm seeing on social media, like some people are hyping up guys that are just not good. Keep seeing Paulson Adebo, and it's like, he's not good. Well, he got signed by the Giants, and everyone's like, oh man, that would have been huge. That would have been great. Da, da, da. He gets a 3-year, $30 million deal, which is $10 million per year. That's garbage money. And rather than going, oh man, maybe I was wrong about Paulson Adebo, that's crazy. Or maybe you're just wrong about Paulson Adebo. Like, that's a steal. Why wouldn't the Packers do this? Listen to me. He's worth probably less than what he got. That's free agency in a nutshell. Somebody overpaid for this. If $10 million per year is too much for Paulson Adebo, then you're just wrong about how good Paulson Adebo is. Flat out. So, the bottom line is there's just not that much out there. And of the guys that seem interesting, the Packers have a stricter criteria of specific guys that they're looking for at a specific price with a specific, attitude, demeanor, whatever for the locker room, to cross all these humps of finding the very rare people that are left that are good enough, that the age isn't a problem, that the locker room thing isn't a problem, that the injury history isn't a problem, that the scheme fit isn't a problem. I just don't. There's just not many, if any, people. Like, again, I'm looking at like 2, and there's a couple. I would be okay with it. Carlton Davis just got signed somewhere. As I said, I would not have super been in it. It's kind of like a half a step forward, kind of maybe, and probably would be paying way too much to be a half a step better than what we have. But I would have been okay with that. I've mentioned a couple of pass rushers or defensive tackles that scare me, but maybe. But the bottom line is, to your point, like, what do we do now? I don't know that there's an answer. Like, how do we get a number 1? You don't. Like, either you get lucky and draft one, or we just don't have one. I mean, we're sitting in a reality right now where our wide receiver group might be largely the same, minus the fact that Christian Watson's not going to be playing for a large portion of the season. I would assume they're going to do something in the draft, but we can't guarantee it's going to be a first-round pick, and we certainly can't guarantee that whatever we do is going to come in and be better than what we have. So it is what it is, man. It sucks. It's a bad situation to finally be like, all right, cool, we got all the money, we're ready to go, this is our time, we're going to do it, and it's like, all right, what do we got out there? And it's like, dude, nothing. Like, DK was basically it. Devontae would have, like I said, I had my reservations. I was okay with it. Borderline excited about it. And there's still guys out there that, were kind of in that same, like I said on today's podcast, they're kind of in the same vein as Devontae. You could argue that they still have a couple years left, that they could come in and be maybe not a premier number 1, but still be kind of a number 1, maybe kind of, sort of. And from where I'm at, I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of early here. There's still, some of them are still available. That's been my biggest critique of, I go on social media, especially, on the Facebook group or whatever, and everyone's just pissed. Gutekunst has done nothing. It's like, what would you have liked him to do? And like you said, DK, fine, I get that. And we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. I think he went to the worst possible situation because, like I said, he is emotionally volatile. And if there's anybody as or more emotionally disturbed, it's the wide receiver on the opposite side of him. I'm curious what the over-under is as far as how many days into training camp before those two start getting into a fist fight. You know what I mean? But look, I'm not going to just immediately flip sides and defend the Green Bay Packers. I probably would have fell on the other side of that. Not to say if I was sitting down in meetings and they really went over, first of all, here's what we think he's worth. Second of all, here's what we know about his personality and why we don't want him, that they could have dissuaded me from him. But it just felt like a perfect fit for me. And is a second-round pick... Look, I do think the price was probably too much. Not even just the second-round pick. I would have certainly been more willing to do a second. But when you factor in second-round pick, and it was a 5-year, $30 million per year deal, plus that second-round pick, that's where it gets a little bit much for me. And again, if it's true they never called, then I guess I just have to trust that it really just was not a fit. It wasn't a matter of we wanted him and we couldn't get him. It was, this isn't the right guy. So, I don't know. That again, that's part of the reason why I wish we had gotten DK, not for that price, but just because I'm sitting here looking, going, I don't think they're going to sign anybody that's going to make me go, this is awesome. It's probably, if they were to sign a wide receiver, I'm going to be sitting here saying, well, fingers crossed that doesn't suck. Oh, DJ Reed of the Lions. Oh, damn it. Well, I guess I don't care anymore. I just don't care. What was that, 3 years, 48? So, yeah, $16 million. And again, even that, $16 million is nowhere near top cornerback money. And that's because he's not a top corner. He's a good corner that I thought would have come in and been a starter. Like I said, he's not as good as Jair, but at least he's consistent. He's a solid guy. Sounded like he was a really good fit for our scheme. Not an elite player, but about as good as you can ask for in this free agent class. So at this point, whatever we do, if anything, is just kind of meh. I do hope it's something, though. I got to talk about something on tomorrow's freaking podcast, you know what I mean? All right, well, rip through these pretty fast. Let's take a break and see if we can finish off these calls on the other side. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay. Just wanted to say that, I think there's a trap in the draft, or I don't even know if it's a trap, but a trap for analyzing the draft as well, where people start complaining that we kind of do the same things, we target the same positions, and they don't work out, and then we go after them again. But it's like, at the same time, the reason you do that is because you don't have that position filled. So it's like, do you say, oh, we're just not good at getting that position, and then stop, and then just accept always being bad, or then you have to trade with someone else, or, sign a free agent at big money? And
oh yeah, that is one of the many flaws of this forever defeatist group of the fan base. We need to stop doing that. Why? Because it's not working. So what should we do? I don't know. Just stop doing it. It's always just do the opposite. That doesn't work. Do the opposite. Don't go for the high upside guys. Go for the guys that are just like consistently good in college. Like, first of all, pretty much every first round pick was pretty good in college. These are the best of the best in all of college. So they kind of do that. But I guess if you're just saying we don't want super athletes because they have a trend of doing that and they haven't panned out, even though they have in several instances, but not every instance, and I'm annoyed. And so we need to go for guys that are not athletic and are just good foot. You know what I mean? Like we're just, there's no real thought process behind it aside from I'm angry and so we should do the opposite. Do you really think that's going to fix things, or I don't know. I don't know.
All of that. So, like, to some extent, a team can get, they keep going after a position in a way that doesn't work out, and they have to keep doing it. And, the positions that they are good at drafting, they tend to not have to draft as much. And so that's kind of a weird thing about the draft. And then the other thing was...
Yeah, and that's ends up being true for a lot of people, and whether it's because they're just bad at drafting it, like people say, or just by happenstance, right? When you flip a coin a bunch of times, right, you're going to have just these weird anomalies that come up. You got some teams that have been drafting offensive line for a decade. Are they just bad at identifying Probably not. It's one of the things that, oh God, you stupid people. The Vikings signed a contract with a guy named Rodgers, and they're like, oh, Rodgers to the Vikings. It's not funny. The heck was I saying? Oh yeah, one of the things about drafting is that there's no like secret techniques. There's anything that the Packers do. There's so much like trading and moving around that there's former Packers scouts all across the NFL. There's all kinds of guys all over the place. So there's no hidden secret knowledge. It's probably more luck than anything. There may be a little bit of, maybe Gutekunst has always been the offensive line whisperer, and he's the secret key himself, and if he leaves, we're screwed. And he was even the secret guy behind Ted Thompson. I don't know, but probably not. Wolf left, and remember that whole thing when we kept Gutekunst? Everybody scattered. Do all those people out there draft a bunch of great offensive lines? Well, some of them probably do. Some of them went to Seattle and are not. And everything's a trend until it's not, right? Oh, Packers can't draft in the third round, and then they got Kraft. And it's like, okay, well, they can. Everything is until it isn't. That's a problem with small sample sizes. It's not hard for there to be trends, right? The thing with the flipping a coin, you get anomalies until you extrapolate it out hundreds or thousands of times, and then you get closer to 50-50. You're never going to have 70% over 10,000 coin flips. But you can with like 8 coin flips. Well, maybe not mathematically exactly 70%, but you get my point. So we just worry about this stupid stuff so much. We act like, oh, they never. Bro, we're talking about since 2019. That's 6 years we've had Brian Gutekunst. Six drafts? And we're going to sit here and talk about all these trends? Oh, they never do this, and Gutekunst would never do this. You're telling me there can't be individual circumstances in which it didn't happen 6 times? Come on.
I forgot it, so I'll call back if I remember. But, there seems to be a bigger push where people want us to go for like a safer pick in the first round. But people also want us to get like a star player. Well, everyone's saying we're missing star players. Well, the way you get star players is by going high upside players. And a lot of times they have more risk. So I'm totally on board. Go with the higher risk player that has higher upside. Yeah, they might bust, but what can you do? That's how you get a game changer. You know what I mean? If they're high floor, high ceiling, studs, now you're talking like a top 10 pick that we don't have a chance to get. So anyways, what do you think about that? Bye.
I agree. I mean, it's a bad time to be talking about we need to stop going after the freaks. Because, I mean, if you just want another Jaden Reed, okay, fine. Let's look for high floor prospects. We have a bunch of high floors on our team. We need high ceiling. And yeah, there's a higher bust rate, but I mean, you tell me what kind of a wide receiver you want. If you want a true elite number one wide receiver, if that's what you're asking for, that number one, that's what everybody wants to talk about. A lot of these guys have some pretty impressive traits. Maybe not as much for wide receiver as like pass rusher, but there's a lot of mediocre trait wide receivers that are pretty top tier, but whatever.
Hey, Ryan, Drew from Green Bay again. Had my shower thoughts, so wanted to call back in. And, with all the signings that have happened recently, I saw in a Facebook group that someone's already saying, oh, fire Goody's not making any moves once again. And, like, first of all, he's made a ton of moves. Like, almost every year he's made a bunch of big moves. And
it is funny. I keep seeing, like, how do people just not remember things? It's like, knowing Gutekunst, we're not going to do anything. He never does anything. What the hell are you even talking about? What universe are you living in? Show me a season, first of all, where we went into it and just didn't spend all the money we had. Because that's never happened. We spend the money that we have, right? You leave yourself a buffer, like every team does, for the regular season. But the bottom line is, if we have a bunch of money, we spend it all. And if we don't have a bunch of money, we don't spend it all. I mean, we don't spend a bunch of money, but we still spend whatever little money that we do have. And last year, 2 of the biggest free agents on the entire market ended up in Green Bay. 2 guys that, as far as I'm concerned, there's nobody in free agency as good as Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. 0 of those type of players. What are you talking about?
And then, but outside of that, there were a lot of like edge guys that were, free agents that the team didn't re-sign them yet, but nobody else signed them. And I think when you're talking about a trade for like Trey Hendrickson, the thing is it doesn't really matter the supply of edges because it's like you want Trey Hendrickson, so it doesn't really matter who else is out there. It matters how many teams are willing to go after Trey Hendrickson. And now a lot of these guys have been eaten up, and you're taking a lot of the demand off of the position. And so now I think if the Cincinnati Bengals want to shop him, or are willing to let him go, like the amount of leverage they have, I think is dropping. Now, it's completely different in free agency, in my opinion, where free agency is mostly about how much supply is out there and less about how much demand. But the demand matters too. And so, we've seen all these guys get signed, but not one single cornerback that I can think of. And I went through a list of like a tracker list, and they didn't say any cornerbacks. So, we can still make free agent signings at cornerback and shore up that position, which I think we will do, because if you don't get a cornerback in the first or second round, it gets bare pretty quick. And even the second round is iffy in the mock drafts. Now, they might fall or whatever, we don't know. But, like, if you're getting to the third round, that's like a dead spot right now. So, yeah, I think, like, it's not time to panic yet. There's plenty of cornerbacks out there. There's a potential trade for Trey Hendrickson if we want to go that route. And, yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I predict that we will get someone. I just don't know who yet. So, all right, bye.
Yeah, I mean, from where I'm sitting, the corners are pretty well snagged here. Let me see if I can even find I think I got one open right about here. This is not a good one. Just barely trying to keep up here. Reed is gone. Bradbury, Charvarius Ward, Byron Murphy, Razul, Fuller. It's still Jeff Okudah, that whole weird situation beyond a long shot, but, at least if it happened, you can whip yourself up into thinking, oh, yeah, maybe, who knows? I don't know. Bring Razul back. I'm basically joking about all these because I really don't want any of them. Like I said, Charvarius Ward, if he's willing to continue his career and everything, he was doing some good stuff in San Francisco. He is 30. I don't know. There's just not a lot of answers to a lot, especially in our position where we don't just need anybody. We need better players, like solid, good starting players. And I'm looking at a list of not that. So even if they do something, which is what I think most people just want, just do something, just do anything, just, make it feel like if you don't do anything, it means you don't care. And if you do something, it means we're going to win the Super Bowl. It's just, the whole thing gets to be a little bit silly. Jersey Mike, what's up?
Hey, Ron, it's Jersey Mike. So I finally listened to Packernet After Dark, and my headphones, the brand new headphones, the active noise cancellation headphones.
Yeah, they were noise canceling, all right.
These things apparently suck when I'm in my truck. Apparently the active noise cancellation microphones picks up everything, and I'm talking about everything. That's not good. So I cannot blame you for not responding to that call. I almost turned the podcast off listening to how bad it was at the end of that second part. But I wanted to say something. Devontae Adams to Rams. Okay, that's sad. They're giving him a lot of money. I wouldn't have paid him that.
Yeah.
Absolutely freaking not. And then DK to the Steelers for a second. First off, the Steelers have to be the stupidest franchise behind the New York Giants. I mean, it's like, okay, I told all of the Giants fans that were like, we got to get Saquon. We got to get Saquon. We got to get Saquon. I was like, bro, behind what offensive line the guy is going to die? And what happened? He died behind the horrible offensive line. And then he went to the Eagles, a team that actually knows what the frick they're doing. And look what happened. So this is what I'm going to say about the Steelers. You're stupid. You're playing yourselves. You paid this guy a bunch of money, and you ain't got no quarterback. What are you going to do? Go after Aaron Rodgers? So let me get this straight. You got frickin' homicidal maniac George Pickens, who's going to rub off somehow on DK and get DK to be an even more homicidal maniac than Pickens. Because DK is just a physical monster. Right? Yep. And then you're going to have self-centered Aaron Rodgers. This is what I'm saying. You're going to have self-centered Aaron Rodgers come in to be the quarterback. I mean, who else is going to play QB? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Do they have Russell Wilson still? I forgot about that.
They don't have a quarterback, period.
Oh, the Steelers, they suck so much. Oh, jeez Louise. No, that's what's going to happen. They're going to try to get Pickens and DK up in church with Russell. Didn't DK play with Russ? Maybe at one point?
Yeah.
I think. Maybe. Whatever. That's just great. It's grand. But no. Seriously, I'm wondering about a guy. Cam Scatebo. Not a scam. The guy looks physical. Would you be upset if we picked him? I know we were talking about Marshawn Lloyd the other day. My weird machinations in my dreams. But, I was just wondering about that. And,
all right, 3 minutes got him. It doesn't look like you're going to continue on that topic in part 2, so we'll get to Mr. Scatabo is how I've been saying his name. I don't know. I think my biggest issue is right now he's kind of seen as like a third-round pick. I don't know. I mean, look, best player available. If you end up with a running back, fine. I'm in no way targeting a running back. I think we have 2 incredibly good running backs, and I think we've got a rookie that we took pretty early that's got a lot of talent, that is built like our starting running back, that could end up being a solid player. We have, in other words, 2, possibly 3 really good running backs. I'm not targeting running backs at all. In general, do I want to spend a third or even a fourth round pick on a running back? No, I don't. With that said, I mean, he's got the right build, 5'11", 215, maybe, 225 would be better, but 215 still a pretty big kind of power back type of guy. Fantastic PFF grades, 2 years at Sacramento, 2 years at Arizona State. That's that thing we were talking about before where it's hard to track these guys because they're constantly bouncing around. But very consistently good. He's got about 4,400 yards, 6.2 average, 43 touchdowns, 10 fumbles, which is one of the things I noticed that people were complaining about was ball security, but it doesn't seem to be that big of a problem. I don't think 4 fumbles is a lot. I don't know. About 4 yards after contact in his career. Yards per route run, 1.58. I don't know how much of a receiving back he is. I know that's kind of a big deal if you're going to come in here pretty much anywhere, but in Green Bay they want you to be a receiver. 543 yards, 3 touchdowns, 80 receiving grade this past year, so that's pretty good. Look, it's one of those things where I don't mind the pick other than, it's a zero-sum game, so every pick that doesn't address a need is a pick that doesn't address a need. It's just a lost opportunity. So, I don't know if it was you or somebody else had mentioned that you think running back is possibly a need. I don't see how. We very clearly have a starting running back, and we've got a number 2 guy right now that is phenomenal, and we haven't seen our rookie yet, so I don't know why we would need a guy. But I'll take a good football player anytime I can get him, I guess. All right, Jersey Mike, part 2.
Jersey Mike again. All right, there's a guy named Kareem Reed. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but whatever. He is a linebacker out of University of Indiana. I don't know, someplace like that. But I've heard some inklings around the Twitterverse that he's a guy who could rise up boards pretty quickly, but there's little tape on him. I haven't seen anything. I'm not going to use the AI because it feels wrong because I don't like doing that. I like using my own eyes and ears. But what have you heard about him? Have you seen anything? Do you have any insights? I pay for the low-level PFF access, so they're telling me basically nothing. There's nothing that I need to know. Yeah. So I want to know if he's a guy that we should look into. So yeah, Cam Scatebo and Kareem Reed. What do you think? Anyway, go.
So, 4 years at Utah. I am going to use AI, by the way, which really just aggregates all the data out there. So, but as far as PFF goes, while that's building that out, he's improved every year, which I do like. 4 years at Utah, he stayed there his entire time. 6 foot 226 is really small. Really, really, really small. That's what PFF says. Maybe he weighed in bigger. Assuming he went to the combine and weighed in, I don't know. It's a small dude, but his Well, his run defense got better every single year. I guess not everything did, but 58, 70, 71, and 81 is how his run defense went. The problem is he only played 8 games this past year in 2024. 2023, it looks like he might have missed some time. So, yeah, undersized guy that it seems like might have some injury issues. Let me peek over at our little draft profile here. This says 6 foot 231. His father played at BYU, had a brief NFL stint. His brother Gabe joined the Utes in 2022, so he's got some DNA there. Primarily a run defender, he has shown some good awareness in zone coverage and ability to drop into pass defense, which does seem to be reflected in here. His coverage grade this past year was a 54, but it was a little better in the past. Seems like as his run defense has gotten better, his coverage has gotten worse. Says areas for improvement: athleticism and speed, disengagement and second-level play, man coverage. As far as NFL projection, rotational linebacker who could initially see time on special teams while developing his coverage skills. His consistent production against high-level competition in the Pac-12 suggests a reliable floor, even though his ceiling might be more limited by his athletic profile. Some scouts see him as a later-round pick around the 6th round, with the potential to develop into a more significant contributor in a system that values zone defense and situational play. As far as his scheme fit, it says strengths make him ideally suited for teams that emphasize zone-based defensive schemes. Quick reaction and tackling ability are assets in run-heavy packages, and with further refinement in man coverage, he could earn more substantial role. His football intelligence and leadership, underscored by his family background, indicate a high football IQ that coaches value in play. So, I haven't watched him. He's way down the list here at 312, so I'm probably never going to watch him. I'm working on the top 200. Even if I expand that out to the top 300, as of right now, he wouldn't even be in that. So if I get to that point and start asking, hey, send me some guys, you could circle back and shoot them over to me. But yeah, as of right now, he is outside of the top 300 on the consensus big board. And those would be my 2 immediate takeaways. He's an undersized guy, which is not very good in coverage and seems to be having some injury issues right out of the gate. All right, we only got one call, so we might as well do it. Drew, what's going on?
Hey, Pack Daddy, it's Drew from Green Bay.
Yep.
I just wanted to say quick before the free agent frenzy that's about to go down, and by the time you listen to this, it'll already have happened, but I wanted to put it on record that one center that hasn't been talked about enough that I would really like to bring in would be Ryan Kelly. If we sign him, I'm going to be really happy. Like, his grades aren't always the best on PFF or whatever, but I think he's actually better than the grades say. We've seen how PFF doesn't really do a good job with grading offensive linemen anyways. And, he's been a part of an offense that has run the ball very well over the years, and he was a big part of that. He's like 31, almost 32 now, I think, and I just think that that having that veteran presence, but still being fairly young. It's not like he's 35, 36. That he's probably got some left in the tank, and he could be. There aren't many centers in the draft this year, so he could be the bridge to get us to when there are better centers in the draft, or maybe Monk needs a couple years to develop, or another year or two. So, if we sign Ryan Kelly, I think it would be like a lot of people would be like, what? But for me, personally, I would really like it. Anyways, we'll see what happens in about a half an hour. All right, thanks. Bye.
No, I agree. I think Ryan Kelly would be a decent enough addition. We do need a center right now. I think he is an upgrade, even though he's 31, 32-ish. I think he is an upgrade over what we've had for a while. He was a part of that Indianapolis Colts offensive line back when it was a really good offensive line. And just taking a peek at his grades here, appears to me that he's been pretty consistent even through, there's a decent amount of fluctuation, but he ranges from low good to mid-mediocre, 65 to 75 in both run blocking and pass blocking. But the fact that, he has been a good run blocker as well as a good pass blocker in his career He's very rarely had bad seasons. Like one season in 2021 was pretty bad, and even by, it was a pretty standard Josh Myers year, but he followed that up in 2023 with maybe his best year. 2024 was 64 run blocking, 72 pass blocking, which in my opinion is more than fine. And I don't know where the Packers stand on his ability. He'll be 32 this year to stay healthy. I don't really know how they feel about him scheme-wise as far as if he's a good fit, but I'd be happy with that for sure. I feel like that's an immediate upgrade at center. Maybe not a long-term thing, but so what? I don't think everything has to be long-term. Long-term is the best-case scenario. If you can just buy a great player that's coming off a rookie contract, go ahead and do it. But sometimes you're in a situation where we need to do better in the draft, but we can't assume everything's just going to be fixed in the draft. You patch the holes and then try to replace them, right? But we got to patch the hole right now. And right now we have a giant hole at center that I'd like to fix. And we can reshuffle the offensive line and move Elton Jenkins over, or do all this stuff. But I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. Again, it's not one I'm doing backflips over, but it's one of a handful more players that are still available from my perspective that I'd look at and go, okay, yeah, that's solid. That's solid. So, all right, I'm out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.